And so usually IRAs have the larger ability, have a lot more options. And so 401ks is usually your employer sponsored plans. And so for 2019, you can defer up to $20,000 or $19,000 in compensation. Remember, we talked about a traditional IRA, you can only do 6. And so same thing, if you're below 50, $19,000 for the 401k, $6,000 for a traditional IRA. Now again, if you're over age 50, you're able to do a catch-up of $6,000 on the 401k. That's over 50. So again, kind of goes back to on a traditional IRA. If you're over 50, you get that $1,000 catch-up. So if you're over 50 and you have a 401k, you get another $6,000. And so the thing to say is there's limits before and then after 50 they give up catch-up contributions. Again, the funds grow tax deferred until they're withdrawn. The employer matches free money. That's 100% return on your money right now. You'll never get a better return on that. And so I usually tell people, go up to that free money. I mean, that's the best that you can ever get. But the problem with 401ks is they're limited by the investment options by the plan. And so usually, if I remember the rules right, there's certain rules that you have to have so many different types of mutual fund types in your plan. I think one was a money market, one's a stock, one's a bond, and one's an international. But they don't have to have very many. They just have to put one fund of that type in that plan. And so it doesn't give you a lot of options. And so that's where IRAs come in. There's I think over 9,000 different mutual funds. That's where you can do on an IRA where you have more options for your mutual funds. Again, just limited by that plan. Same thing like on IRAs. If you make distributions prior to age 59 and a half, it's that 10% penalty plus applicable taxes. And so, I mean, the one thing I always try to stress to everybody is don't take money out of your retirement accounts for non-retirement purposes until you're retired. And so, still similar to the Roth 401k is relatively new these past few years. A lot of companies are now offering Roth IRAs to complement. And so, again, that is after-tax growth. So, same thing as that Roth IRA. They're both about the same, but this is from the employer standpoint side. Funds are tax deferred until withdrawn. Again, you can do $19,000 up for 2019, and then if you are over age 50, $25,000. That's that $6,000 catch-up like we talked about earlier. Again, it goes back to those distributions depending on the circumstances. There are some federal income tax free, but if you're before 59 and a half, there's still that taxable penalty. That's that little quirk. There's still the tax and the penalty, 10% penalty, and still have that 5-year holding requirement. I said generally just don't take money out of a retirement account for non-retirement purposes until you're retired. I mean, that's just the easiest part to understand and know. Yeah, theirs goes back to the federal portion and treated say, yeah, all right. Annuities, there's one more thing you can do, and it is a tax advantage account. Things have kind of changed for annuities lately. I always tell people if you max out your 401k and you max out your IRA and you want to still consider saving money on a tax deferred basis, that's where the annuity comes in. I mean, annuities still can do that. There's no limit to the amount of money that you can put in an annuity to still grow tax deferred. It's just I think there are some better investment options out in the annuity, so I don't usually spend a lot of time on it. But an annuity is an investment contract. It's you invest your money in return for an insurer's promise to make payments in the future for retirement. Funds again grow tax deferred. So like I said, you put money in now, you put $100 in now, it grows tax deferred, and we pull it out, you pay taxes on it. Some annuities have death benefits on it. Again, it just depends on how the contract's written. There's lots of them out there. It just depends. One of the big things, like I said, there's no limit on the amount you can contribute. The distributions are subject to federal income tax on the earnings portion. So you put in $10,000, your principal, and it's grown to $100,000. You'll never pay tax on that $10,000 principal, but you'll pay taxes on the earnings portions of it. So that $90,000 that grew would be where you pay your income tax. Again, if you do it before 59 and a half, there's that 10% premature distribution tax plus applicable taxes, and there's no required minimum distributions after age 70 and a half. You can convert the annuity into guaranteed lifetime income stream. It just depends, and that depends on how the contract's written. Annuities also impose surrender fee and other additional charges. One thing I guess I tell people on annuities is you can get two types of annuities. One's a fixed annuity and one's a variable annuity. The fixed annuity, I liken it more to a CD. It's going to pay a fixed rate but have less expenses. So I tell people just own that CD if you want for that fixed purposes. From a variable annuity you can have, they own mutual funds underneath. And so I say instead of putting that annuity code on it, why don't you just buy mutual funds? And so, I mean, annuities, there are some circumstances where annuities you can use them, but it just depends. And so as a general rule of thumb, I tend to shy away from them, but not necessarily saying they're all bad, but it's just, I think there are other better investments out there that you can use to maximize your return.